The laughter began as soon as she stepped into the room. It wasn't loud, but sharp enough to cut through the air, like a blade. The kind of laughter people try to hide behind closed lips, thinking no one notices. Her limp was obvious, one leg stiff, the other working twice as hard to carry her forward, but her eyes didn't waver. She kept walking slow and steady, past the smirks, past the whispers, past the people who didn't know who they were, mocking or what she had once endured. The smell of polished floors and cheap coffee filled the hallway. It was a charity dinner, a place where respect was supposed to be easy, but respect is a fragile thing when people judge by what they see instead of what they know. She wore a simple navy dress, its hem brushing over the brace on her leg. No medals, no uniform, no hint of the battlefield except for the way she carried herself, as if she'd walked through fire before and didn't mind the heat now. Her name was Captain Elena Ward. Years ago, in the choking dust and stifling heat of a distant desert, she had been the one running toward danger, while others ran from it. The smell of diesel, the ringing in her ears, the sting of grit against her face. She remembered it all. On that day, her convoy had been ambushed, gunfire cracked against the armored trucks. Voices shouted in panic and a high value. Officer, the general himself, was trapped in a disabled vehicle ahead. There was only one way to get him out. Someone had to draw the fire away. Elena didn't think twice. She sprinted into open ground, knowing full well what would follow. A sharp burning pain tore through her leg as the bullet hit, but she kept moving, each step heavier than the last, until she reached the vehicle and pulled the general out. He survived. So did most of the men. Her leg didn't. Now, years later, she stood in a ballroom filled with polished shoes and shallow pride, listening to the quiet cruelty of strangers who saw only a limp. They didn't see the desert. They didn't see the blood-soaked sand. They didn't see the moment she chose to take. The hit, so someone else could live. Point one man at a nearby table chuckled, loud enough for others to join. Guess she's not running any marathons, he said, his voice dripping with mockery. Elena's gaze swept over them, calm, unmoved, but the silence around her felt heavy, as if the room itself was waiting to see if she would break. She didn't. Instead, she stepped closer. Her voice, when it came, was soft, so soft the room had to lean in to hear. I let them shoot me, she said, pausing long enough for the words to sink in so I could get the general out. The man's smirk vanished. Chairs shifted. The room fell silent. For a moment, no one breathed. Then in the far corner, a veteran in dress blues stood up without a word. He brought his hand his brow in a slow, deliberate salute. One by one, others followed. A wave of respect swept the room, not because she demanded it, but because her quiet truth left no space for anything else. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. Heroes rarely do in their own stories. Instead, she gave a single nod and took her seat, leaving behind a silence more powerful than any speech. Later that night, as she stepped out into the cool air, a young woman caught up to her. My brother, he didn't make it back, she whispered. Thank you for doing what you did for yours. Elena didn't speak. She simply placed a hand on the woman's shoulder, letting the gesture carry the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, because some battles don't end on the battlefield. They end in quiet rooms where truth meets ignorance and wins. Sometimes, she once said, you don't limp because you're broken. You limp because you've carried more than most could survive. If this story moved you, honor silent heroes like Elena. Tell someone about her. Leave a comment with where you're watching from and share your own story of courage. And if you believe the world needs more reminders like this, make sure you join us for the next one, because heroes walk among us and sometimes they limp,